Now, when it comes to things that do not aid restful sleep, let's talk about the problem foods that one may have before going to bed and could actually exacerbate one's insomnia. You did mention cheese there, and I'll do a quick interjection here. When it
Yeah.
comes to cheese, there's, the old adage that it gives you wild dreams. My grandfather used to say that he would dream of dogs with bonnets, which means dogs wearing hats. Um, uh, and I have found that when I have cheese before bed, which I quite enjoy, I do once a week, I have the wildest dreams. So what's going on there, Jill?
I don't know, but I love that. I haven't
Right.
had cheese. I haven't had cheese in like 7 years, so I don't know, but I
Right.
love that connection to it. That's so interesting. I had not heard that. So I'm fascinated by that.
Well, maybe try some of your vegan cheese and see if you get some crazy dreams.
I know. I know. I'm like, is that the only thing? I'll have to do some experimentation.
So we've already spoken about sugar, and sugar you
Mhm.
don't really want to be having before one goes to bed. Um, but interestingly enough, do you have Horlicks and, well, you've heard of Ovaltine and Horlicks before?
Yeah, Ovaltine, yeah.
Yeah, so they're kind of malted, uh, well, powders that you turn into a malted milky beverage, right?
Hmm.
And it's interesting in the UK, Ovaltine and Horlicks are sold as a sleep aid almost, and you have it at the end of the day. And I grew up with that, so I happen to, if I have a mug of that before I go to bed, I sleep very soundly. However, it's made all over the world, and in India, it's sold as a beverage you have first thing in the morning. The exact opposite. So, is there any truth that a milky sweet drink would help you go to bed?
I think it would depend. I mean, the milky part might be, or the warmth of the beverage,
Hmm.
might be soothing and calming. It depends on what you connect it to. Maybe if that's something from your
Sure, if
childhood.
that's your
But
ritual, yeah.
as an ingredient, typically sugar is something to be avoided,
Yep,
prior to bed because it can disrupt sleep. And that goes along, kind of leads into most processed foods because they
of
tend to
course,
be
yeah,
high
yeah.
in sugar. They tend to be high in, chemicals, additives, and low in those things that we talked about, like promoting, gut health, like no fiber, typically,
Mhm.
very few like probiotics or prebiotics. So those processed foods and those sugars tend to be not helpful when we're talking about like restful sleep or
Yes.
supporting sleep. And, kind of along with those processed foods, those agricultural chemicals like pesticides,
Sure.
insecticides, herbicides, like any of that, in what you're eating, again, just not very good for our gut. So can, be a negative influence. And antibiotics. I know this isn't a food,
Yeah.
but just as far as like promoting, gut health, not to say that, there's never a time and a place for antibiotics, but we
No, I
tend to,
understand. Yeah.
have them prescribed for things like, viral infections, or, we're not quite sure what's going on. So try this antibiotic. And, it can wipe out everything, good guys, bad guys, everything in
Hmm.
between. So those are like, some things to just consider or to know. And then as well as, things that we kind of know, which is like caffeine.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
The half-life of caffeine is about 5 hours. So meaning, 5 hours after you've had caffeine, half of it's still in your body. So I mean, it could be, 8, 10, 12 hours before
Hmm.
it's fully out of your body. So, one rule of thumb might be to, keep it before noon.
All right.
Because
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
but anything after that, you just don't know when it's going to fully be out of your body. And even if, some people are so sensitive, like really just avoiding caffeine can be the most helpful when it comes to sleep.
That's me. That's me. If I have a cup of coffee in the morning, I would be awake for about 2 days or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
Hence, I avoid coffee.
Yeah.
Now, alcohol. Where does alcohol fit in the grand scheme of things here?
So it can help people fall asleep faster, but
Hmm.
it really actually impairs sleep quality, especially that restorative sleep. So you might feel like, I mean, if you've ever had too much alcohol, you're like, yeah, I'm plenty tired. But
Oh
the
yeah.
quality, the quality of the sleep is not as good or not as restorative when there's alcohol in your body. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
It's interesting. So I suffer from sleep apnea, and I have an APAP, a CPAP machine that I put
Mhm.
on. Look very strange every single night when I go to bed. But that monitors how many sleep apneas one has as of an evening, and it's almost it really confuses me because if I have had a little bit too much wine, it looks like I actually have less apneas,
Interesting.
which isn't the way that things should be. So I'm curious as to, I mean, I'm sure alcohol affects everybody very, very differently depending upon
Yeah.
their metabolism, tolerance, and all of that sort of stuff. We've spoken
Hmm.
about that before. But
Yeah. I wonder if maybe it has something to do with the sleep apnea specifically with like a relaxation of,
perhaps,
like the
yeah,
muscles and,
yeah.
the components that would lead to that, that snoring and that apnea. That's just kind of an observation or an educated guess. But, with um, being specific to the apnea, I wonder if it's a relaxation,
Right.
playing a role.
Now,
Yeah.
question for you. You did mention dark chocolate there. I was under the impression that dark chocolate and even dark chocolate was actually a stimulant as opposed to a relaxant.
It can be, I would say that with the sugar, right? The sugar content, it
Sure.
could be, one or the other. But yeah, it does have magnesium in it. So it's going to tend to be a
Uh,
little bit more relaxing, or at least have some relaxing components. And again, are you having something like, a Snickers bar or something that's, 80% dark
yes.
chocolate, that's naturally sweetened? I think really can, play a difference as well.
Now I'm blessed and I don't really have any trouble going to sleep as of an evening. It's maybe once every 6 months or something when I have something on my mind, but I generally sleep very, very well. But you did mention a book the last time we were chatting that you'd been reading that you found very helpful with regards to dealing with perhaps insomnia problems with sleeping.
Yeah, I think it was Sleep Smarter by
That's
Sean
correct.
Stevenson.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, it's a great book because it really addresses, it goes beyond food, and talks about like, the temperature of the room and the darkness of the room, which all, play a role.
Hmm.
Your um, access to light or your exposure to light earlier in the day can help kind of regulate and reset your
Hmm.
circadian rhythm, right? So that day night, like when when your body sees that light or senses that light early in the morning, it's like, okay, it's daytime, I'm on. And now I know in X amount of hours, I need to kind of start winding down physical activity. So the book really addresses, well beyond food, what can help promote sleep. And the one other thing too that I think, can be helpful too, in addition to foods, are things like herbs. So like chamomile, passion flower, valerian. You can look for, either a supplement or a tea.
Yes.
There's tons of teas that are called like bedtime and nighty night and calm and all that kind of stuff that can have a really nice, easy, relaxing effect, without like, a medication side effect
Yes.
concerns
Yeah.
and things like that. So, so those be helpful to look for in combination because the companies put all the good stuff together. You don't have to
Yep.
like kind of, single choose them.
Now, I have to be very careful because valerian works as a stimulant on me.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
anytime I have one of those sleepy time teas, they always have valerian, and I just stay away from them now because they
yeah,
actually keeps me awake, which is a
yeah.
little bit odd. But then I'm a little bit of a strange cat. Anyway, Jill, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today. I'm going to have a word with the family about what they should be eating before they go to bed now, and do try that experiment with the vegan cheese and tell me how it goes.
I will. And no eating like, a couple hours before bed either.
Yep.
So no matter
Right.
what you're eating, you should, leave yourself some time before bed, to where you're not eating. So your body doesn't have like a to-do list as you're trying to, doze off.
Good call. Thank you very much, Jill. Take care, and we'll speak soon.
All right. Bye, Jamie.